So, first up is a new tool that you have launched through SmarterX, the AI research and consulting firm you have started in addition to the Institute. And we've talked about a couple of these tools in the past couple episodes. There's a third one now called Problems GPT, which is an AI powered tool designed to help businesses identify and prioritize problems that could potentially be solved more effectively using AI. So, Problems GPT uses ChatGPT technology to help organizations define problem statements and create preliminary strategic plans for building AI forward businesses. So, the approach behind this tool kind of focuses on identifying your known pain points or challenges that could be solved more efficiently and at scale with AI, not just looking at use cases like some of the other tools enable us to do. And then the tool helps you craft a strong problem statement that includes a value statement establishing the worth of solving each problem. And it can also then help you after that draft an initial strategic brief to accelerate AI transformation. So, Paul, maybe to kick things off here, can you talk about why is this tool significant? Like, why is it needed now? And maybe walk us through, like, what is the methodology behind it and, like, how have you been using that?
Yeah, so if anybody's read our book, the Marketing Artificial Intelligence book, there's a chapter dedicated to the two approaches we teach, the two frameworks we teach to adopt AI in an enterprise. And so the first, which we've talked a lot about on the show recently, is the use case model. That is finding the things you already do, the tasks you already do, and leveraging AI technology to do them more efficiently, be more creative, more innovative, more productive. So that's where the jobs GPT came from and the campaigns GPT that we've talked previously on the show about. So those were meant to help you find tasks that you already do and integrate AI to do them smarter, better, faster. The second framework that we teach in the book and that we use in our workshops, and that's actually the forcing function for launching this one today, is the Strategic AI Leader workshop that I teach and that I'm running at Macon on Tuesday, teaches the problem based model. Now, in the problem based model, I think of more as like the director level and above approach. This is you have goals, you have pain points, you have challenges in the organization, and we all have them, and they can be related to audience awareness, customer churn, revenue growth, innovation, whatever your challenges are, whatever your domain is. If you're the CEO, it's all of these things. And you're looking at these problems differently. So by understanding what AI is capable of, you start to look at problems in a different way and say, maybe there's a smarter way to solve this. We've been trying to solve this problem for months, for years, for decades in some cases. Maybe we should take a first principles approach to this and revisit how we think about solving this problem.
Mm.
And so that's what the problem-based model teaches, and that's what our workshop teaches is it kind of goes through this framework of how to define a problem statement. As you mentioned, make sure you have a value statement. So you go through and you identify all the challenges you're facing in your organization, and then what is it worth to solve these challenges? Because what then happens is you may have a list. And so in our workshop, we'll actually give people like a blank template and we'll go through and come up with all the different pain points you're dealing with around
Mhm.
these different areas. And then you want to be able to prioritize them by ranking them. And one of the best ways to do that is, well, what is the value for us to solve this? And so, give you a few examples. So, an example problem statement for audience. The problem is we saw a dramatic spike in customer churn last quarter, resulting in a monthly recurring revenue drop for the first time in 2 years. The value statement to solve it, the quarterly loss was $80,000 per month or 680,000 $960,000 annualized. So that's a problem statement. The second option, we'll do an innovation one. So our growth in existing verticals has stalled, and we need to identify new markets and product ideas that can unlock massive value for the organization. Great, that's a solid problem statement. What's the value? The value, based on historical data and market research, we believe there are two new verticals that could generate 10 million plus each over the next 3 to 5 years. So again, problem value. And then we'll give you one more related to customer churn. We saw a dramatic spike in customer churn last quarter, resulting. Oh wait, no, I did that one already. We won't do that one again. So, but you get the idea. Problem value, problem
Right.
value. And so what I did with Problems GPT is I basically just trained a custom GPT to create problem and value statements. So it's trained on a template of what that looks like, and it's given a bunch of examples so that it knows to do it. And then it'll actually help people craft a proper problem and value statement.
Right.
So that's the first thing, is it can help you identify and craft these problem and value statements. But then it actually is trained to help you develop a strategic brief. And this was a big it was a big unlock for me in building this, because Mike, you and I have done these workshops together before. What we often do in these workshops is we teach the framework, and then we get people to develop a list of all these problem statements. But then, as we do in the book, we say, okay, then here's the 10 steps to then go figure out what to do about it. So in the workshop, we don't actually give people the strategic brief side. We're not saying, okay, here's the 10 ways AI can help you solve that problem. So when I was building this custom GPT, I thought, I wonder if I can give it that ability. I wonder if I can just train it how to write a strategic brief, so, like, instantly, they have a starting point.
Mhm.
And so I devised a way to do it, and the first time I tested, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it actually works. Like, this is genius." Not me genius, like, the fact that it does this is genius, because it accelerates so much the value people can unlock, and, like, how quickly you can move from having this pain point to, like, "Oh, wow, this is a really smart way to maybe do this." And so the way it's designed, it's, again, it's the way the Problems GPT, and you can go to smarterx.ai/problems GPT, and you can go see this for yourself. Um, you need to be logged into ChatGPT then to use it, but just click on the link and go there. It's trained to identify and prioritize the business problems, but then once you lock in your problem, it's actually trained to then develop this strategic brief. And so you can go there, and the three options are: help me identify problems. So you can just say, hey, I'm trying to figure out a problem, and it'll walk you through it, and it'll ask you questions and kind of guide you through developing a problem statement. Or if you already have a problem statement, you can just drop it in there, and then it'll start creating a strategic brief for you. If you're not sure and you want some inspiration, you can just click show me some sample problem statements. And
Mm.
the thing I found here, and I didn't even train it to do this, it'll give you example problem statements. I think I taught it to give it like 3 at a time. So you can just say, give me more, give me more. You can just keep saying that, and it'll just keep doing it. But what you can do is say, listen, I'm in the retail industry. Give me some example problem statements in the retail industry, and it'll do it. And so what I found is it itself learns, or had the ability kind of emergent within it, to do this in specific areas to you. You can do it by job, you can do it by vertical, you can do it by industry, company type, whatever you want, and it'll actually do it. Identify the problem statements, work with you on them, and then develop the strategic briefs. So, I think that the way I think about this one, like I did with Jobs GPT and Campaigns GPT, is think of this as a consultant. Like,
Mm.
think of it like you're talking to a really talented consultant who can help you develop these problem statements, and then can give you real time guidance for how to think about the strategic side. Now, the strategy output is not a final product, and you need to have expertise in your domain to know if the strategic output's even any good. But what I have found is it, again, gives you instant feedback to what it
Mm.
looks like. And these briefs, the way I trained it to do it is it restates the problem statement. It then goes through theoretical issues and drivers, like what's causing this problem. So it kind of teaches you a format that we teach in our framework, Mike. It then gives you strategic recommendations. It gives you a preliminary timeline for an implementation plan, expected outcomes, metrics for success, and then what resources are going to be needed. So every time you ask for a strategic brief, it actually follows that template. So I gave it an example in its knowledge base and kind of trained it on that model. So it's also helpful just to think about how a strategic brief should be structured, and
Mm.
this is what how it's trained. So yeah, I mean, like, literally, we launched this thing. Mike helped me build the landing page over the weekend, in between being at a wedding. Thank you, Mike, for knocking that out. And then we launched it on Sunday afternoon. So I mean, this thing's been out in the wild for like less than 24 hours now. So it's a beta product. It's built on ChatGPT. It's not going to always get everything right. It may hallucinate some stuff, but I'll tell you, like, Mike, we've sat in these workshops for like 3+ hours, and people get a ton of value out of them, but they leave with a list of problems. And now it's like, okay, now what do I do?
Mhm.
And I mean, my own experience with this thing is like within 3 minutes, you can have a bunch of problem statements identified, and you can start playing around with some ideas around strategic planning. And I don't know. I mean, it's still shocking to me that someone like me with no coding ability can just take a framework we've been teaching for like 6 years
Right.
and in a matter of like a couple weeks, just build out this GPT that all of a sudden just has all these abilities. It's wild to me. Like we couldn't teach this to a strategic, like a senior strategist. Like this is the kind of thing back when we ran the agency that we would
Right.
be like trying to teach people the ability to do this. And here it just took a framework and some knowledge of how to prompt this thing, and all of a sudden it just does it. So yeah, smarterx.ai/problemsgpt, or you can just go to smarterx.ai and click on tools. They're all there. Give it a try. I don't know. I'd love to hear people's feedback. You've played around with it, Mike. Like, what did you think? You've been through it on both
Yep.
sides, like the manual side of trying to teach people this, and now having a tool that does it.
Well, that's what I love about it too. It's a great example of not only what's possible, but also what's possible when you give it your own original thinking. Like you had that framework, we've taught it, we know it works. Like when you combine that with the ability of these tools to extrapolate, reason, and strategize at scale, real magic happens. We're not just saying like, hey, AI, go think for me about a problem using generic data training sets, like very specific to what we have seen work and what we know works. And that's where this is really opening my eyes to, especially from a consulting perspective.
Yeah.
Anyone who has taught anything in any context, this is definitely something to be exploring, I would say.
Yeah, I think again, it just goes to this future of this like no code future where anyone can build anything they can imagine.
Mhm.
And this to me is just like a very early window into what that is going to look like. And I think that's a future that's coming very quickly through the
Yeah.
work of Replit and like Microsoft Copilots. I got to imagine. I mean, OpenAI hasn't made changes to custom GPTs since they announced them last year.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be a version 2.0 coming, and maybe it's just a smarter model. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, as someone who ran a marketing agency for 16 years, um, I could sit here and probably list dozens of frameworks,
Mhm.
processes, things that we were doing manually that would take dozens or hundreds of hours sometimes, that we could probably build custom GPTs for now that would like deliver immediate value to clients. And now what does that mean to your financial model as an agency? Like that's a whole
Yeah.
nother ball
Yeah.
game. That's why we have our AI for Agencies Summit, is to try
We
and
have an
figure stuff
event
like
for
that
that.
out. But, yeah, I mean, I would just encourage anyone that, if you haven't built a custom GPT yet, or, now you can do Google Gems with Gemini, and
Yeah.
Anthropic has projects, but, like, really take the 1 or 2 or 3 things you do over and over again, the frameworks you go through, the processes you have in place, and experiment with building one yourself. It is a very enlightening experience, and I mean, this is the 3rd one I've built, and I texted Mike. I was like, "Dude, I'm just, like, shocked that this works." Like, I'm still having a hard time processing that we have this ability to now build these things, and they just work, like, on first trial. It's a wild future we're heading toward.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And yeah, you mentioned like Claude artifacts slash projects, like it's incredible. I've like built several apps already that like I'm not like selling them to
Yeah,
anybody, but it's like I don't know how to code and React. Like it's and you can literally iterate right in a window on
with
software. It's
words. Like,
incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like you just try
Yeah.
and figure out a way to say it to the AI so it
Yep.
understands what you're trying to say, and I think next week we might dive deep into this new prompting video we were
Yeah.
talking about, Mike, and it's just wild to me, like, how human language is becoming the way you code. I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting.